Welcome back. Russia's war against Ukraine is escalating, now threatening NATO territory.
That's right. NATO fighter jets were sent scrambling overnight, racing to stop a massive Russian drone attack that spilled over into Polish territory. According to Poland's prime minister, 15 Russian drones crossed into Polish airspace. Polish and NATO forces shot at least 4 of them down. Video shows the aftermath from wreckage of a drone damaged a building in eastern Poland. No casualties were reported. A NATO spokesperson saying this is the first time NATO planes have engaged potential threats in Allied airspace. The Poles calling the incursion an act of aggression.
This is not our war. This is not just a war for Ukrainians. This is a war. This is a confrontation that Russia has declared on the entire free world. And this must finally be understood by everyone without exception.
The Kremlin claims it had no intention of striking Poland, but the cross-border escalation happened as part of a massive Russian assault on Ukraine. Despite President Trump's push for a peace deal last month, Russia has only stepped up its attacks. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky is urging allies to do more, calling for stronger air defenses and faster military aid.
And joining us now for more on the response to that Russian provocation in Poland, Senior White House Correspondent Kelly Wright and Natalie Ecanow, a Senior Research Analyst at Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Welcome to both of you.
Kelly, let's start with you first. Let's talk about what the White House has said about what seems to be this growing escalation from Russia.
Yeah, John, good evening to you and Jenna. Look, the president is looking at this very closely. The White House is looking at it. And of course, the president taking to Truth Social today saying, what's with Russia violating Poland's airspace with drones? Here we go. That would indicate his frustration yet again with Vladimir Putin for not getting to the peace table instead of escalating a war. This is not the first time, however, that Polish airspace has been violated. It has happened several times since Russia launched its invasion of Ukraine in 2022. But this latest strike on Poland has been the most significant. Russia sending those multiple drones into Poland as it conducted strikes, and as you just reported, NATO scrambling its fighter jets to shoot down the drones. And all of this raises more concerns throughout Europe as well as here at the White House about Russia's continued aggression against Ukraine. John.
Yeah, Natalie, Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk said this situation brings us the closest we have been to open conflict since World War II. Natalie, help us to understand the severity of what took place from an international standpoint.
Yeah, so I think there are 2 big things to keep in mind when it comes to the significance of these latest developments. The first being that NATO air power was used to engage a threat on the territory of a NATO country. And the second is that Poland actually invoked NATO Article 4. Those are both big developments. That said, it remains to be seen whether or not anything tangible happens in the next couple of days. The most immediate impact has been tougher appetite from Congress for tougher sanctions on Russia. But there, too, it remains to be seen whether or not Trump will green-light those sanctions.
Natalie, I'd like to turn to Israel and the strikes against Hamas and Qatar. The international fallout it's interesting to note because it seems to complicate things. The White House had this delicate statement where on the one hand it was the stick and then on the other hand it was the carrot. How does this complicate things with other nations, especially Qatar, who's been helping lead negotiations between Israel and Hamas?
Yeah, so for the Trump administration, the relationship with Qatar and with Israel in this dance is a pretty tricky one. Qatar is a country that's a major non-NATO ally and has extensive defense and economic relationship with the United States, but at the same time, it shelters Hamas terrorists, it sponsors them financially, and it's been mediating in Gaza for nearly 2 years now. So you can see why the Trump administration's response is challenging. In terms of the regional response, most of the countries in the region have come out against Israel's action. That's pretty par for the course when it comes to Israeli action in Gaza and beyond. Earlier today, Qatar's foreign minister said that his country was reconsidering its relationship with Hamas. That means Hamas's presence in Doha, as well as Qatar's role in the ongoing hostage talks. That will be an interesting development if the Qataris do decide to divorce from Hamas. At this point, that actually will play into Israel's hands, and frankly is an outcome that the U.S. should have been pursuing for the last 2 years. So that's something to watch for moving forward.
Yeah, Kelly, besides being a U.S. ally, the president seems to have a close personal relationship with Qatari leadership. What did the U.S. know and when? And how does that complicate the president's relationship with both sides here?
Well, the president has to play both sides and be close to both sides. Remember, Israel is a strong ally as well as Qatar. To Natalie's point, though, the Israelis have always distrusted the situation of Hamas leaders living in Qatar, and that's possibly why they initiated this attack, although Bibi Netanyahu says it was based on a terrorist strike on people in Jerusalem the day before. But the president has told reporters that he was very unhappy about the way that all of this went down, telling reporters that he's not thrilled about the whole situation, and he's still calling upon Hamas to return all Israeli hostages held by Hamas. And when asked if he was surprised about this taking place, he says, "I'm never surprised by anything, especially when it comes to the Middle East." And during the White House press briefing yesterday, I watched White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt as she explained that President Trump spoke to the Emir and Prime Minister of Qatar and thanked them for their support and friendship to our country. And he assured them that such a thing like this will never happen again on their soil. Finally, this is significant.
Finally, Natalie, in the few seconds that we have left, do you think Israel's capable from a military standpoint to keep up with these multiple fronts? They've also launched strikes on Houthi rebels today. You've got Syria and Lebanon. So can they keep up?
I think the Israelis can definitely keep up. The question is whether or not they have the energy and the backing from the United States to do so. But as Israel demonstrated in Qatar the other day, they're going to go after their enemies whether we like it or not.
Okay, Kelly and Natalie, thank you both very much.
Sure.